Welcome to Carpe Dime, a podcast about personal finance and everyday life. I'm Jamie Davidson.
And I'm Dusty Simmons from Financial Center First Credit Union.
Yeah, thanks for spending your free time listening to us talk about how life and family affects us achieving our financial goals. Hey, Dusty, you ever heard that Beatles song, Help, I Need Somebody? You know, what's the next line to that?
Help, not just anybody.
Right, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You know, truer words have never been spoken when it comes to protecting your financial life when hardship hits. And if you feel the ground crumbling beneath you, today's podcast is a must listen. We're welcoming our first guest today to Carpe Dime to give us all advice on how to get back on solid ground when bankruptcy may feel like your only option.
That's right. You know, so I got a funny one for you real quick here. Have you seen that video of Chris Farley back when he was on Saturday Night Live where he starts rolling down a hill and it says it's January and he keeps rolling down the hill and then it's all February and it's
COVID memes. It's one of the best COVID memes.
All the COVID memes. Yeah, that's what I think about when I think about 2020. We're 6 months in now, and I feel like we're Chris Farley just falling down that hill, hitting rocks, hitting trees.
And when you think you're at bottom, you're not.
Right. So I was thinking about that the other day when we were going to sitting here going to talk with Kim today. So what are your thoughts, Dusty?
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness neither of us or any of us sitting in this room have fallen on financial hardship lately. But all it takes is that one misstep, that one trip, and you're suddenly Chris Farley rolling down the hill, and it's a snowball. Whether that's caused by illness or job loss, divorce, spending addiction, there are all sorts of reasons. But financial hardship is not that far away for anybody.
Right. And, someone who constantly gives financial counseling to people, a lot of times they don't really want to ask for help early on. They wait until the last moment to ask for help. And that's really what we want to talk about today.
So we have this friend here at the credit union, Kim Flowers, who specializes in this and talks to members and the public all the time about ways to get ahead of maybe some trouble that might be coming your way. So she's our very first Carpe Dime guest. So we hope she feels really special. And she's the Assistant Vice President of Member Solutions at Financial Center. And welcome, Kim. Tell us a little about who you are and what you do here at the credit union.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear Aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear Aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Well, thank you for having me, Dusty and Jamie. This is one of the areas that I really like to talk about in my area. I am the AVP of Member Solutions, and I've been here with the credit union for 23 years, and I have been a credit counselor for about 10 or 15 years. And so I try to use my expertise in both areas and combine the two to talk about things that you're talking about here today.
So, you just said you are the Member Solutions AVP. What does that mean? Member Solutions. What does that mean to the layman?
Member Solutions we took the negative connotation off of a collection manager.
Okay.
We no longer wanted it to be called collections. We wanted to have an approach where the member would feel comfortable in speaking with us. So that's when we went with the name of Member Solutions.
Oh, I love that.
With a solution that will help the member, and it makes them feel comfortable when they contact us.
Right.
It's a difference when someone says, "Okay, I'm going to transfer you to the collection department," and then they're like, "Oh no," and you get a click up.
Right.
Versus, "Well, hold on for a second. Let me transfer you to our Member Solutions department to see if they can possibly help you." Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that. They're going to solve the problem, right?
Right. We're here to help them solve the problem.
That's great. We love that.
Correct. Okay, so Kim, we're going to just shoot off a few questions at you and let you just fire away with your expertise. So my first question for you are, what are the signs that you see of people who may be getting in that first snowball of in over their financial head?
Well, one of the main things that we see is that they start to use courtesy pay a lot.
And what's courtesy pay?
Courtesy pay is the quote unquote loan is what they perceive it to be, where you can take out a certain amount of money and you have 45 days to pay it back. And so they use that money and they start to believe that that's part of their paycheck. So it's like $1,000 extra each month that they have to pay back each month. And then it just becomes a snowball effect because most people start to live in courtesy pay.
So depending on where you're banking, courtesy pay exists pretty much everywhere?
Pretty much. Most financial institutions offer some type of
tied to your is it tied to your checking account?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So those that are using that are probably not saving very much either. Would you say?
No, not at all.
Which is probably they want to save. That's probably the last thing on their mind. So here we know that the people who are using courtesy pay and they probably have zero in their savings account most times. And then obviously the next thing that probably happens with that, when we find they're getting in trouble, is besides the courtesy pay, what else do we see happening with them?
Oh, well, there's a number of things that happen. They normally, bills that they have, they can only afford to pay the monthly payment amount. And, it'd be a small increment,
like a minimum payment?
A very minimum payment. Okay. Very minimum payment due. And it normally goes towards interest because they're normally running past due on that payment to begin with. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the beginning stages of you're starting to get into some trouble. And the payments start to become past due. And another one is that they start borrowing from their credit cards in lines of credit.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's
you want to talk about that a little bit?
But probably pay like the everyday needs,
their
like
everyday
their utilities,
needs.
that sort of thing.
Yeah,
right.
We call that robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right, definitely. Yeah. Right, and then you're never gonna get anything in your savings if you're living that
correct.
way. So
that's correct.
What I talk about all the time with people is, if you're getting in that position where you're going to be late on your payments, always make sure you call whoever you have that debt with to let them know. So as a person that works in Member Solutions, would you prefer that they call and let you know what's happening?
Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of times when I work with people, like I said, they don't tell you right up front. They think they can sort of hide from that debt. And I always say, they're always going to find you there.
Right.
So we're always talking about, don't hide from your debt, and make sure it's out front and get in front of it and have that conversation. So it sounds like that's what you guys do in Member Solutions.
So that's something that we encourage our members to do. Is something that we want them to do. And we want them to do it not only with us, but with any creditor.
Right.
Because what you don't know is that, your creditors are more likely to work with you if you are proactive rather than to run.
Right.
I have someone that I just spoke with, I've been speaking with for the past couple of weeks, and he had no idea that, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were having a skip-a-pay promotion.
Right. And
he's just been struggling to try to make that payment. And so finally he calls me and he says, hey, Kim, I want to make my payment. I'm still running behind. Can I give you can you give me until the end of the month? And so I asked him, well, is there a reason why you didn't apply for the skip-a-pay? And he's like, well, I didn't know you had one.
Right.
And he said, because my mortgage company wouldn't let me. They didn't offer. They wouldn't let me do that. They did not offer that. And I told him that, well, you have to get in contact with all of your creditors. Right. I said, and I don't see where you actually contacted us.
And we've been talking about that a lot, actually, on our on the podcast. I've talked about it on webinars. Mm-hmm. If you're going to get behind on that, you have to make that phone call. Exactly. Because the creditor's not going to call you and say, do you want to skip a pay? You need to take that step and do that. And when you do that, it builds so much more trust. It's instead of you feeling like as though you're running from the debt, you're out there and you're taking it head on and you're having a conversation. You're actually creating that relationship with the creditor. So when they call you, they're creating that relationship, and the goal is to help them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. That's the goal, is to really try to assist the member. And, because one of the things that I like to teach is the same thing that you already touched on. I want you to be able to increase your credit score. Uh-huh. You don't want to, that to start slipping because you're falling on hard times. And, just stay in good standing so that you can get future products. Right.
So we were talking specifically, because you've touched on credit score, about debt relief programs. You might see those advertised out there, and kind of understanding what a debt relief program is and maybe some of the pitfalls or what you see with people who take advantage of those versus taking the more proactive approach of calling your creditors yourself. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not a really big fan on them because they make very minute, very minimum payments towards, towards your debt. And then you get into this contract and you're on this long-term contract. Right. That it's not benefiting you, and you can really do it yourself I am very proactive and, do it yourself, the do it yourself.
Right. Yeah. Basically, we were talking about it, and I agree with you. And, you see the advertisements and they're going to get rid of my debt. Well, the thing, the big thing is they don't realize that what's going to happen is you're starting to pay that company.
Exactly.
And they're saving that money. They're going to take a portion of that money for their payment. And they're going to call and negotiate. Well, the thing is, while they're doing that, they're not calling the debtor or the collector. And next thing you know, your credit score is in ruins and
really
shambles.
hurting,
And so it seems like it's great. Well, I'll just let somebody else take care of this for me and I'll just pay a fee. But I'm not saying everyone out there is a bad one,
right.
but I that's not what I would say should be your first step.
No.
The first step should be you call your credit union, you call your bank, you call your credit card company, have that conversation so we don't get to that point where you have to do that.
Right. I totally agree.
Okay, so we've got another question for you, Kim. So I like threes. Everything's in threes. Three's the magic number. You ever heard the song Three Buckets? Three's the magic number.
Okay.
So what 3 tips would you give someone who's having consistent trouble paying their bills? What would you tell them to do? What are the 3 things you would say to them?
The first thing that I tell people is to stop spending. Stop.
That's a hard
one. Yeah. We talk about
that all the time.
We talk about those spending addictions,
Yeah.
Those little things, and it's funny because we've been talking about, people aren't out buying, the things they usually do. Well, no, they're online because you see the Amazon truck in the neighborhood every day, right?
That is a very true statement.
So look at the spending first, right?
Yes.
So your first one is you're going to look at spending. What's the second thing you'd recommend?
The second thing is that I recommend that they call your creditor. You call your creditors to let them know up front that what you're experiencing, whether it's just financial difficulty, job loss, whatever it is, call your creditors
Have
first.
the conversation, right?
Yep,
have that conversation.
And is most of that conversation, this is the situation I'm in, and let the institution kind of take the lead? Or are you there as an advocate for yourself to kind of negotiate, hey, this is what I can afford?
That is absolutely correct. We want them to, what can you do? If you can't make a full payment, what can you do? And we're not going to say, okay, well, can you afford just $25? No, we want to stretch you to, give you something to work with, give you a goal to work for. And so,
what I love about that is, like you said, you're a financial counselor, just like I am. So we're not just saying we want you to pay your bill. We also want to help you learn how to budget and do the right thing. So this doesn't happen again. So when something happens, you're ready for that. You've got the savings down. You're not living on that courtesy pay. You're not living off your credit cards to pay your electric bill, right? It's that peace of mind you get. So really what you're doing is you're saying, okay, we need to get our debt lined up and let's work on that a little bit at a time. I love that.
And that was my number 3.
That was your number 3.
That was my number 3.
So your number 3 is?
Reach out to it for help from your financial counselor and help to get yourself on a budget, to develop a budget.
Look at that.
And what if you don't have a financial counselor? I mean, if I'm at Bank of America and I don't even know my banker, where can I find financial counseling resources?
You can come to Financial Center First Credit Union.
There you go. We're going to
come see me.
Or any credit union. Credit unions are here to help you.
Yep.
People helping people. So talk to your local credit union.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are online resources out there. Google some things, but budget worksheets.
Yes.
All of those things that you can do proactively. But
so I want to get a little, before we go on to the next question, do you have like one story you can share with us where you saw somebody do something just ridiculous and you just were like shaking your head at the end of it? Or is that something you prefer not to?
You deal with two spectrums. So you have older people who think that they can't learn, they feel they're embarrassed about it. And then you have the younger crowd that, they don't want to learn. They don't want to, they think that they know it. They know how to do it anyway. So, you just have to, come to a happy medium on that. And so we have a lot of times in my department, we spend a lot of time educating them on, the importance of making your payments and making your payments on time and, setting them up for auto pay. And you never have to think about it. You never have to worry about it.
Auto pay is, I think, one of the best pieces of advice that you can give, because that just takes the guesswork out of it. It creates the habit without really having to change what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's one thing, set it and forget it. And
Exactly. So, a funny story that I had a young man who purchased a vehicle and he was a first payment default. And it's like, okay, you go back over the application and you're like, okay, no, you have a good job. You've got your own place, like what's going on. So I give him a call and I said, is there a reason why you're running past due? He said, well, I thought that I could make my payments with my credit card.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
And I said, you want to make a payment with your credit card? And he said, yeah, so that I can get bonus points for flights so that I can travel. So, we had to have that conversation to say.
That's not how it works.
Exactly. It's not, I'm sorry, that's not how it works at all. And so then he tells me, well, I wouldn't have bought the car if I knew that I couldn't use the credit card. So, we had to really have a real conversation.
Okay, so I guess I'm not aware of this. So can you not make a loan payment with a credit card?
No.
Oh,
No.
See, I'm 41.
Well, I think you can take a cash advance, but that's going to be very expensive.
Advance.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to pay double.
Costly,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. But
So don't think you're going to do that, people, and get double the points.
Exactly.
Hey, I've got a credit card. It's got a $40,000 limit. I'm going to go buy myself a new $30,000 car.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
That's a true story. That's a true story. But but it's about educating.
Right.
Educating them at all costs.
That's a hilarious story.
That is hilarious.
It's hopefully that person's figured it out. I would have bought the car.
Yeah, and he was serious. He was very serious. Just so you know.
Let's see. Yeah. See. Yeah. That's wow. That's funny. So yeah, I can see somebody trying that though.
Credit counseling. Yeah.
Credit counseling.
Let's have a conversation here.
All right. So Kim has given us some really great tips on someone who is having consistent trouble paying their bills. And the first one is to stop the spending, to stop the bleeding. Yes. The second one would be to call your creditors and have the conversation, let them know where you're at and see what you can do. Yeah. And the third one is to reach out to a credit counselor and get yourself back on track with a proper budget. So, we do a little bit of research before each of these, and we were looking at, what happens when somebody is past the point of no return, which it does happen, and found some statistics on bankruptcy. And, here in Indiana, 3 out of 1,000 people are now filing bankruptcy on an annual basis. And that average bankruptcy debt is around $21,000. So for everybody out there, you may not know exactly what bankruptcy is or what it means to you, and that there are different types. So Kim, will you give us a little bit more background about what bankruptcy means and the different types that there are?
Well, there are 3 types of bankruptcy. And bankruptcy is when you are declaring you want to get rid of all of your debt, all of your secured debt, unsecured debt, and just have a fresh start. That's what I normally call it. I call it a fresh start.
So when you say secured and unsecured debt, tell me what those things are.
Secured debt would be you can file it against a car that you may have and that you no longer want. You can put that in the bankruptcy. So you have the option to affirm or reaffirm or not to reaffirm. So that is, if you're going to reaffirm, you're going to keep the vehicle. If you're not, you're just going to voluntarily surrender it back to your creditor. And most people reaffirm when they're secured debts though. And so it's a Chapter 7 where you're just a fresh start. You just get rid of, wipe out all of your debt. Okay. And the next type of bankruptcy is Chapter 13. And that's where you are repaying your debt. You're not just walking away from all of it. It's a bankruptcy. It's called a plan. A Chapter 13 is a plan where it's planned out by the trustee and you make monthly payments to the trustee and then the trustee actually sends it on to your creditors.
So how is that different than going to your creditors and doing credit counseling? Why would you declare bankruptcy Chapter 13 versus just going to your creditors directly?
Well, you could be overwhelmed with medical expenses. And so your medical expenses, credit card expenses that you've accumulated over time, and it's just a spinning wheel and you just can't get out of it, where the creditor may not be able to put you in a plan that that is structured, because the Chapter 13 is a very structured plan. So
is Chapter 13 a little less severe of a type of bankruptcy, or is it going to affect your credit score the same way a Chapter 7 will?
Bankruptcy is bankruptcy.
Oh, good to hear that. Yeah. Good to know.
Bankruptcy is bankruptcy. It doesn't matter if it's a set. I mean, it's Chapter 13 is just you're paying the creditors back. You didn't just walk away from the debt and then start get a.
And recovery time from either type is 7 to 10 years.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that is correct. And then the last chapter is Chapter 11, which is for businesses that are in trouble they file for Chapter 11s, and those are restructured debts as well.
So when we see results of, kind of our local and global economy, and we're hearing about companies declaring bankruptcy, they're filing this Chapter 11.
Yes.
Yes,
that is absolutely correct.
As you hear, people talk about contemplating bankruptcy, or they're hearing from other people that that's an option, what kind of advice do you like to give about bankruptcy?
Well, my number one thought is don't listen to the other people. They make it sound easy, but it's not easy, because bankruptcy is a 10-year dark hole.
Wow.
Of your credit has been ruined. And you may be able to go out and get credit. However, you're going to pay for it. It's going to come at a cost. You're going to have higher interest rates in upwards of 27 to 30%.
Wow.
Very easily. So it's
because you're high risk now.
Exactly.
Because you've declared bankruptcy.
Exactly. You have and if you file bankruptcy on your creditors, you're not going to you've ruined that relationship. And they're not apt to take you back. After you file for bankruptcy, because they can't. So, I just say, look at a budget first. Look at a financial counselor first versus the bankruptcy route, because it's a 10 years. It's because it stays on your credit for 10 years.
Right.
And don't fall for those, it'll drop off after it's 7. That's old days.
And 7 is still a long time.
Yeah, but it's now 10.
What else would you say? What else would you say about that? Just don't listen. But what else?
I would say not to listen to your friends about your finances, because it's your finances. That's your future, not theirs.
Right.
That's number one. And you don't want to get into a bankruptcy and go down that 10-year hole of paying higher interest rates and no one giving you credit. And
I've sat down with people that are, they want to refinance their car because they have a 27% rate on their car. Their loan rate was a 27%, and it's because they had a bankruptcy. And
exactly.
Most of us out there go a 27% auto loan.
Exactly.
But it exists, and it does, and that's what you need to avoid, because I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's a fresh start. Yes, the bankruptcy is a fresh start, but you pay for it. It comes at a cost. Believe it or not, just before I came here, I was having a conversation with my son's friend, and he filed for bankruptcy. And so now he's looking for a car. And he calls and they're texting me and saying, well, he found a car for, they want $1,000 down, 2015. It has 115,000 miles on it. And I said, so he's paying $1,000 for the car? And he goes, no, that's the down payment. And I said, no, that's a no.
That's a bad deal.
Yeah. I told him, that's a no. I told him the same thing. That's the cost of filing for bankruptcy.
Because his credit score is probably very low now.
Exactly.
And, you talk all the time about other things that your credit score affects, not only your ability to get loans, but what else?
What's going to affect, that the ability to get the loan, it's also going to affect what the rate's going to be on the loan. And not only that, I mean, it affects things like your auto insurance rates. If you declare bankruptcy, your auto insurance rates are going to be through the roof, because they're looking at that as you're high risk. You're high risk. You're at much higher risk. And it's like, whoa.
And maybe whether or not you're going to be able to get your next apartment, or, or your next job.
Or your employers as well.
Everyone looks at that now. Yeah. So I would, my strong advice is use a financial counselor instead. Try to go the financial counseling. But the first thing, again, is I would say stop the bleeding.
Right.
Stop the bleeding. Stop the spending.
Change your behaviors.
Yes. Exactly.
It's hard to do, but
it can be done.
It can be done.
I have a family member that declared bankruptcy 20 years ago. Did everything right since then. They have great credit now. Everything has been good since then. They were one of the ones that did it, and they did everything right after that. And good for them. I mean, I guess, right? But we see so many people that do go through that process, and they just repeat the same behavior.
Offenders, yes.
And it creates a lot of stress in your life, and not in just your life, but in your family's life. Whoever you're surrounded by, it's not just you. It's affecting everyone. And
yes.
It's really important that you look at that as a very, very, very last ditch effort to take care of this.
Right.
We're going to wrap it up here today, Kim. What words of wisdom would you give to those people that are in that situation where they think it's hopeless? How can we help them?
Or if you see that you're headed down that path, what would you say?
I would say contact your credit union. or a credit union. They help you for free. They will help you with your credit counseling, help you to get on the right path, and put you help you in a budgeting situation. And they offer financial literacy to you. So that would be my words of wisdom. Get help. Communicate with a credit union.
Very good. Thank you.
And yeah, you need help, just not anybody.
Oh, yes. Are you going to sing it again? Oh, Lord, help me.
No, I'm not going to sing it again.
Oh, here we go. There you go. You sing it, Kim. So we want to thank Kim for coming in today.
Absolutely.
Great job. We appreciate it. You're our first guest, and have you back another time. Loved having you. Love the stories, and love helping our members, and actually not just our members, but everybody else that's out there.
Awesome. Carpe Dime is presented by Financial Center First Credit Union. It's produced by Jamie Davidson, Dusty Simmons, and Courtney Cooper. Financial Center is a 6-time national award winner in the category of adult financial literacy. And our goal is what, guys?
To help improve your financial lives.
That's right. To learn more, visit fcfcu.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to our podcast from Google, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Just want to thank everyone for listening today. Stay tuned for more podcasts of Carpe Dime.